Hello everyone and welcome back to another Royalty Insights episode. Today we are talking about the different types of property management. Property management isn't the same. A service that I am getting for a commercial building is not going to be the same service that your property manager is going to give you for a residential, and it's not going to be the same for an Airbnb. It's going to be completely different. So to understand this and illustrate this, I have broken them down into 8 packages that we are going to go through, and by the end of the video you'll be able to understand which kind of services fall into what bracket, and actually understand why your PM is charging you 3% and then charging the other one 12% and then 24%. Trust me, I have seen someone that was being charged 24%, and okay, yes, it wasn't in the Ugandan market, but when I looked at the level of service that he was getting, it was clearly worth the 24%. I mean, if not, he was underpaying because it was a whole suite of services. So that percentage literally depends on how many services and I should say products they are offering you, how much of the work they are actually doing. If they are only doing the tenant screening, that's a very different service. So let's start with number 1 on my list, which is tenant placement and lease management. So I am categorizing this as a package, regardless of the fact that it seems so close to what brokers do, but this is completely different. This is a service that is rendered by property managers. You see, why I am including this here is that property managers have access to a large base of clients, so they are also in the best position to actually do this leasing and tenant placement. Why? Because if I am managing a property here and an inquiry comes in, or even a client at that property wants to leave and go to another one, they are most likely going to ask me, the resident property manager or the company that is working at that building, you know what, this is something I'm looking for, do you have something that fits within this? Or if someone comes to this building and they're asking, do you have space here? And I'm like, no, but we do have an option that is available here. I am not working as a broker, I am still a property manager, but offering a different service. So this is a package that is offered to landlords who only need tenant finding services. So the property manager comes in and does the property marketing and advertising, they do the tenant screening and vetting, they do the lease agreement drafting, and then the security deposit collection. So they only carry out the functions that are involved in sourcing and then placing the tenants. So that is tenant placement and tenant screening or lease management. And then number 2 is the basic property management package. So this is where you have your normal things, which are tenant placement being one of the things there, and then you have rent collection, you have basic maintenance coordination, you have regular inspections, you have tenant complaints handling, and then property inspections, all these property reports, these normal services that we know. And the target market for this is usually the small property owners, like single units, apartments, and mostly residential, So this one is the common one that we all know. The guy comes in, he does for you rent collection, he also gets for you tenants, and he handles the maintenance. Not actually doing the maintenance, because that's a different thing. A person doing maintenance coordination and a person doing maintenance are 2 different things. Maintenance coordination is, if this sink needs to be fixed, I am going to go source quotes, give them to you, you choose, you pay, and then I get this person to do it, I supervise them, they are done, I report back to you. Maintenance handling is, I'm going to find out that that sink is spoiled, I'm going to bring my person to do it. Once they are done, I will just let you know. I may not bill you, or I may bill you, depending on the kind of arrangement you have with them. Anyway, don't just go and say my property manager is ripping me off. No, it depends on the kind of arrangement you have with them. And that's how all these packages are actually formed. You negotiate a different agreement, and that's how the pricing structure, it's just aggregated into that and everything comes out well. So number 3 are commercial property management packages, and these ones are also different from the first ones. So for this, the target market are the office buildings, malls, retail spaces. So the retail spaces are also included in this, yes. So in commercial property management, the main things that the property manager is going to do are going to be things like lease management and negotiation, sourcing the clients as well, and tenant placement. They are going to do facilities maintenance coordination, they're going to do things like security coordination. And what I mean by facilities maintenance, I mean services like cleaning, that is a facilities maintenance role. things like gardening, landscaping, that's also under maintenance, things like that. That is all coordination that is being done by the property manager for you. You might still be incurring the cost, and most likely you are incurring the cost, yes, but it's just coordination, like I've explained the difference. And then there are other things that come in commercial places, things like metering of utilities, things like parking management. If it's a mall, you need to manage the parking. Even when it's an office building, a certain office is allotted a certain number of parkings, and it's up to the property manager to kind of handle that whole relationship. So parking management, financial reporting and budgeting, utilities, and service charge management. So in retail and office, we obviously have the service charge that comes in that is managed by the property manager. And then 4 are the short-term rental packages. So these are the Airbnbs and short-term stay options. So if you have something like that, you would have a property manager that is offering you services like listing and marketing. So they are listing and managing your property or properties on services like Airbnb and booking.com, hotel.com, things like that. They are doing guest check-in and guest check-out. So when the guest is checking in, making sure everything is there, they have the details of the guest down, and then check out. Have they broken anything? Do they need to be returned their full security deposit? And then things like housekeeping and cleaning services, because with the Airbnb, the cleaning is on you and not the client that is staying in, like it is in most of the long-term rental spaces anyway. So they are also maintaining that, they are doing the maintenance, and then they are doing what we call revenue optimization. If you have noted, there is this thing that the prices on Airbnb tend to change all throughout the year, and there is a sort of seasonality to it. So revenue optimization is this thing of including dynamic pricing into your offerings. So they are going to manage and say that during the Christmas period, we can hike prices to this, so that you don't have to do that, because most people don't know that, okay, they might know, but they don't know by how much do I need to increase it, that people will still be able to pay or be comfortable paying anyway. What is the market looking like, in other words? So these guys are able to do that for you, and if they're not doing that for you, you are definitely losing out on money. And the fact that you signed the contract, they should be doing that for you. Okay, and then 5, before I get people in trouble, are HOA and condominium association packages. So by HOA, I mean home owner associations and condominium association packages. So the target is obviously to condominiums and gated communities. So anywhere whereby there is a shared interest, in other words. So they are going to offer services like common area maintenance. They're going to do things like financial management and service fee collection, because obviously when you have shared spaces, or when you are in the condominium setting, there is this thing of condominium fee that a lot of landlords hate, but it's a necessary expense, trust me. And then another one is security and amenities management. So they are managing amenities like the pool, the gym, the sauna, the steam, the kids play area, the parking, things like that. All those are amenities that are shared by everyone, and they are sort of there to manage the relationship between all the landlords or all the parties involved. And then most importantly is the legal and compliance support, because you see, with gated communities, shared spaces and condominiums, there's actually a full condominium law just because of this. So they help you to actually manage that whole dynamic that is created when there is a shared interest in one parcel. Okay, and then 6 are facilities and maintenance management packages. So note here that I am saying facilities, maintenance and management, regardless of the fact that we are talking about property management, because the two are different. And most people confuse PM and FM, but they are different. PM is a more comprehensive form of FM, or FM is a subset of PM. Actually, let's just say FM is a subset of PM. Not all the things that are done by a property manager are done by a facilities manager. So whereas the property manager is dealing with the building, with the people, with everything, the facilities manager is going to come in to see how is the building operating, and they're mainly going to focus on that. Whereas the property manager is going to do extra things like letting, they're going to focus on tenant this, tenant that, everything else. But with the facilities managers, these are the services that they are going to offer you within that package. One is going to be preventive and corrective maintenance, so they are still going to be doing the maintenance for you, and in most cases you're actually paying them to do this. and they're able to do it instead of maintenance coordination. Okay, and then they are doing vendor management and contract negotiation. So when you have vendors, like let me say you have a subcontractor, you have someone that is doing the pumps, that is doing the generators, they are going to be able to do that vendor management for you, source quotes, do this, look at repairs that need to be done, and then source the same quotes if necessary, things like that. They are going to do other things like audits, so that is inspection reports, energy efficiency audits, all those general, I should not call them clerical duties, but the duties that need to be done by the landlord in a setting whereby he already has everything done, but just needs that final push. So the FM comes to manage all that, security, janitorial services, that's all part of vendor management. And then 7 is property marketing and sales package. So this one is mainly to sellers and developers. So if you're a developer, you're trying to sell your property, you can actually approach a property management company and they will do leasing and digital marketing for you, like we already talked about. They can do virtual tours and staging services. So if you want to stage your home, you want to do an open house, these guys can help you with that. They can do buyer screening and negotiations for you. If you want someone to sit at your table when you are negotiating high stakes deals, it's good to have a property manager. Why? They have the market knowledge, they have dealt with clients before, and they can guide you through the selling process. Another one is with the paperwork. Property managers are good at handling paperwork. Have you seen these guys read through 20-page leases and look for that one clause that you have violated and get you? That's how good they are. So trust them when it comes to paperwork, that they are going to do the work to just help you so that you don't have to deal with that. They're going to look out for your best interests because that's what they are supposed to do. That's what their agreement states. And they cannot work counter to that. If they did, you can clearly sue them. So that's 7. So 8, and finally, are corporate and institutional real estate management packages. So here the target market are banks, NGOs, corporations with real estate portfolios. So out of the normal day-to-day landlord. Within this package, what they are going to offer you as a corporation, as an institute, are going to be lease administration services. They're going to do asset and portfolio management, especially if you have a lot of assets or if you have a few assets, more than one. They're going to do asset and portfolio optimization, just trying to make sure that your whole portfolio is performing well and is performing in the most profitable way for you. They are going to do financial performance analysis. They are going to do strategic planning and risk management. That is all to make sure that the assets that you have as a corporation, as an institute, is performing well. Yes, it is able to continue to profit you while minimizing the risk that can happen and all that. So within those services, lease administration, asset and portfolio management, financial performance analysis, strategic planning and risk management, all those are activities that you should expect them and your property manager to actually do when they're on ground as a corporate and institutional package holder. You may be a corporate, let me say, entity, and then you go for the basic PM. No, unless your package stipulates that and you're being charged for that, just expect the service that you have negotiated, in other words. And maybe just a bonus to close off these 8 packages that I've talked about. How do you arrive at the pricing for each of these packages is a question I would ask myself naturally after reading all this. Like, I know these are the services I'm going to require. I'm going to need someone to do the tenant screening for me. I'm going to need someone to do the lease administration. And then maybe it's an Airbnb. There is one Airbnb within the 8 complexes, something like that. How do I actually price, or how do I negotiate it with my PM? Or even as a PM, how do I price my client? So I came up with 4 models that I think you guys can use. And one is cost-based pricing. So in cost-based pricing, you actually calculate your operating expenses. You sit down, you calculate what stuff are going to cost you, office, marketing, any of the functions that you're going to carry out on the property or for the landlord. And then you add a profit margin. You add, don't be greedy, maybe 20 to 50%, and that will be your final price. The second one is market-based pricing. So you just look at the kind of work you're going to do. You go into the market and compare it with what another person in the market is charging. If you went to another 8 apartment complex that is also, let me say, collecting 16 million per month, and the property manager there is charging 10%, it would be also right for you to just charge 10%, since that is the market average. And make sure that you're not using one person. You have actually sampled it out and you realize that this is the market average, so I can charge this. because some people really don't know how to price and may be following a false claim, in other words. And then 3 is value-based pricing. This one is based on intuition and perception. How much you perceive the kind of value that you're going to provide to this client to be. If you are going to do work that, let me say, is going to be in portfolio management, analysis, strategic planning, and everything, and you see that this is going to be work that, you know what, is going to be very valuable for your client, they are going to actually 10x their business because of this, you might not follow the cost-based and market-based because you know the kind of value you are adding to their business is far more, and you would want to be compensated, I won't say equally, but sort of fairly. So you would use this, you would do value-based pricing. You value the kind of, I should say, value that you're going to provide, and then price that, in other words. And then 4 is to use a hybrid model. So you can combine, let's say, a fixed fee with a performance-based sort of arrangement, whereby you're like, I can come in, your property is at 50%, we can accept to be paid, let's say, a flat fee of 1 million, but if I am able to, let's say, improve your occupancy from 50 or 60% where it is to 100%, then when I reach 100%, which is the goal, you will then pay me a percentage of the total increase in revenue that I've created. So let me say if I've gotten you from 50 to 100, that's a 50% increase. So you will pay me 3% of the 50% increase that I've given you, in other words. So that is combining a fixed fee plus a performance-based commission or something like that. You have an agreement that actually mixes 2 sorts of pricing. One may kick in earlier, another one may, or they may actually both kick in at the same time, whereby the figure keeps growing as you do more because it's just performance-based. It's tied to how good you are performing or delivering for your landlord. And I guess that's it for this episode. I hope I have delivered value to you. I think I have. I definitely think I have. So if you like this episode, please like, comment, and share it with someone that you think might find it useful as well. Otherwise, from the team at Royalty, my name is Raymond, and I'll see you in the next episode.